It's All Black podcast.
Wow. And there it is.
Our topic is kind of about censorship, and which is kind of a timely topic tonight. I didn't realize it until I started thinking about it today. I was writing the notes and going, this is kind of timely,
With everybody being censored?
Well, with everybody being canceled and with
Did you see my sister was banned from Facebook? She actually got reported, though. She's posted something from like a year ago. Somebody said something about.
What's ironic about it is the people who complained in 1985 are the ones who want to silence people now.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, huh?
Uh-huh. What I say? If Mortal Kombat, the video game, and movies like Angel Heart and music by Judas Priest, didn't cause people to go out and act wild and do stupid shit, then YouTube channels and Facebook posts and Twitter tweets won't do that either.
Legit.
So everybody needs to calm the fuck down.
I can't whistle, but I tried.
I'm gonna get that sound. I have the keyboard here. I hooked up a new drum machine, and I gotta get a sampler that I can use standalone just on the computer, and I'm gonna load up sound bites. One of the sound bites I want to load up is that from the Do the Right Thing, where Samuel L. Jackson plays the DJ, and his big line is "Chill that shit out."
Do it.
All right. How's everybody doing tonight? It's 8:59. 8:59 on Loveline with Lily and Ludini.
God help us.
Please call 155-6775 for all your lover questions. Lily says we have a few lonely lovers out there tonight. Call us on the
If you're calling us for that, I'm so sorry.
Now it's time for long distance request and dedication. Dear Lily, okay, my name's Billy Altman.
Oh my God.
And I've been banned from Facebook
100 times.
10 times today. What should I do? All right, everybody. Everybody feeling good? Feeling all right?
Every day.
I need a drink. I need a menagerie of alcohol. I need a menagerie. Yeah.
OMG.
But no GMOs.
Right.
This is non-GMO booze.
What does that mean?
It's not genetically modified.
Oh, there it is. I actually never knew what that meant.
See, when you tune into the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, it's educational. It's educational. Oh my, I have stuff and things. I was cleaning up and moving stuff, and stuff's not in the right place, So I'm like,
can't let go.
Stop. I bought this shirt yesterday at the same place I bought the Johnny Cash shirt. The Johnny Cash shirt fits pretty nice. So I took the Johnny Cash shirt that was still there, and I laid it on the thing, and I laid this shirt on top of it to make sure they were going to be the same fit. This is like a dress. I don't get it.
It is a little big.
It's yeah.
That's weird.
I don't know.
Is it the same manufacturer?
It's the same place, the same thing. I mean, if you lay the two shirts next together and they perfectly match with each other, you would think when you put them on. But maybe what I think is maybe the shirt I bought was a different size.
Oh, maybe.
So you have to compare apples to apples in this world, kids. This should be a lesson unto you. Can you guys see Lily?
Nobody's answering.
Everyone knows it's Lily. There we are.
We don't have to do spotlight.
Lily. Here we go. Lily. Here we go. Lily's not going to go to the Super Bowl. But she's going to go see Motley Crue if they tour.
Ever again.
Yes, you will. You'll be their front and center. 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 All right, we're just waiting for Keith Hawkins to join us this evening. Hopefully he's still among the living.
No doubt.
Ain't got no corona getting him up the butt or anything like that. They say the second wave of Corona is going to go right up your ass. Yep. Anal Rona. It's going to be great. It's going to be very stimulating.
Ooh, I'll take that one.
And that's why Fauci says you have to wear goggles now. Yeah, because everybody's going to be,
I hate you.
Yeah. So we're going to be like walking like sewage systems. Do you ever think about that? People are kind of walking sewage systems, if you think about it.
They're walking a lot of things.
They're walking and wowing. Keith, come to us, Keith. Oh, Keith, where are you? Well, we are not going to bore you folks with just idle banter. We're going to do an actual fucking podcast tonight. How do you like them apples, huh? I bet you didn't expect that in your pie, huh? Lily, what does that look for?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, what's this thing in front of me? Oh, it's a microphone. I had never heard of this thing before. All right, boys and girls, moms and dads, children of all ages, let's do the thing today. You guys ready to make podcast magic?
Every day.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to just pause that, put this here, turn that back over to that. We have levels, and we're going to do the thing. So, all right, guys, you guys ready out there in the Facebook and YouTube land? Okay. All right. I don't know. I'm not. Once we start,
It's
too late to say you're not ready. Okay. All right, here we go, guys. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember that time way back when we thought that song lyrics would make us all do nasty things? The Parents Music Resource Center was an American committee formed in 1985 with a stated goal of increasing parental control over the access of children to music that could be deemed to be like, have like violent lyrics or be drug related, sexual themes. And they wanted to do this with labeling the albums with a parental advisory sticker. On this week's Ludini Rock and Roll podcast, in the tradition of the 7 words you can't say on TV, we will discuss the filthy 15 songs that triggered the PMRC. You're listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. Everybody out there in Radio Land, it's the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. And no, we're not going to sing. We should do that.
Hell no.
A whole show where we have to sing the whole show. Oh, dude.
I don't sing.
I know. That's why it'd be so freaking awesome. You listen to Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. My name is Lou Lombardi, a.k.a. Ludini. Sitting next to me right here in the co-pilot chair this evening is Lily V6.
Hola.
Host of Six to Licks.
Hot Licks with Lily 6. Close. So close.
Hot Licks with
on
Lily
Rock Rage Radio.
On Rock Rage Radio. And shout out to Rock Rage Radio for carrying the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus on its network. We do really appreciate it. Speaking of shout outs, give a shout out to Wolf's Customs. Why in the world, you're going to get your band together. You're going to, maybe you're going to put everybody in a separate room or everybody's going to be in their own studio and you're going to do these live shows on the internet. Why in the world would you do it with the same boring looking guitar that the last 20 bands did it with? No. You are going to contact Wolf's Customs at wolfscustoms.online. Talk to our good buddy Chris Thunderwolf Dodson and say, hey, Chris, Ludini sent me and he said you can make my guitar look insanely cool. Not just guitars, by the way. Drums, your bass, any musical instrument, what you're going to perform with, get a hold of wolfscustoms.online. Check them out. They do hollow flash. They do all kind of cool stuff that can really make your Strat, your Telecaster, whatever you're playing, really stick out and stand out and, just make the performance something a little bit more special for the fans. Check them out at wolfscustoms.online. So tonight we are going to be discussing the Filthy 15, and we're shy one band member this evening. So we're going to probably play a song and maybe send a text message and see what's going on, if there's a technical difficulties or something. But we're getting into it tonight. I have a bunch of different bands that we're going to play. This is a band that emailed me and said, we'd like to be on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. And I said, you know what? Okay. Since you asked nicely. This is a band called Yard of Blondes. Not Yard of Bones, Yard of Blondes. Interesting, right? Murderology on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
This is a love song from my heart to the grave. This is a love song from my heart to the grave. Down the road I met the melody. His face is ugly, he gives no apology.
All right, that is a band called Yard of Blondes. And where can we find out some more about Yard of Blondes? Yard of Blondes at yardofblondes.com. Check them out. The album is live from home. It is available on Spotify, and that's exactly what it is. What the title is. It is. They all recorded their individual parts in their individual studios and filmed it. So there's a.
Yeah.
It was a lot like a live concert, and then they mixed it all down and put out a record. So good for those guys, and they got that out quick.
It sounds good, too.
Yeah, it's already on Spotify and everything. So you guys produce music pretty quick, dude, and that's the name of the game. So we're talking about producing. In terms of producing, we're going to be talking about the music that came out. Well, not the music that came out, but music that was going on in the '80s that caused this giant controversy. And there were 15 songs that were presented as, kind of like the really bad ones that were really going to cause everybody all kind of trouble.
Yeah, these are the ones they took to the hearing to fight their cause.
And
which a lot of them are just like, why?
Well,
why?
especially now, so much has happened. If somebody had gone into a coma, like the year after this, and then woke up now, you'd be like, yes, the Twin Towers are gone. We've been in 2 wars. We've had a black president. Bill Cosby's in jail. Nobody rents VHS tapes anymore.
Well, everybody's going back to the drive-in, so that's a thing. That would not be different.
You'd wait. You got what? So these songs probably, considering a lot of, all the crazy stuff that has happened in entertainment in the interim, like all the sort of like twerking. Remember when twerking and everybody was like, oh, that's so dirty.
Yeah,
that was the whole thing. So all kinds of things have happened in entertainment. We saw Janet Jackson's boob. All kind of stuff. So I think that, like, when we look back on these songs,
it's like, what?
Yeah, we're very kind of like, well, really?
Why?
And I think that there's a lesson to be learned there that, like, what has people all in an uproar about, whatever they think is causing problems in society or whatever, you give it a few years, you'll be on to something else, and you'll be looking back at that and you're like, yeah, maybe people are upset about that. It doesn't make any sense. So just keep that in mind as we go through our discussion today. So let's go ahead and let's get some background. Lily, do you want to kind of tell the story there of what this is all about?
Well, you did explain what the PMRC was, but it was a committee founded by 4 women known as the Washington Wives. A reference to their husbands' connections with government in the D.C. area, headed by Miss Tipper Gore herself. Obviously, wife and Senator, later Vice President Al Gore. Susan Baker, she was the wife of the Treasurer. James Baker, Pam Hauer, and Sally Nevis. And they eventually grew to include actually 22 participants before shutting down in the mid to late 90s, because obviously this is ridiculousness. But I can talk about the hearing too if you'd like. A little bit.
Let's hear a little bit about the hearing, because I think some rockers came out and told their side of the story as well.
So in August 1985, 19 record companies agreed to actually put the parental guidance sticker on with the explicit lyrical content. Before the labels could be put into place, the Senate agreed to hold a hearing on so-called porn rock. The hearing was held on September 19, 1985.
Wow, I'm changing the band name tomorrow. We're going to be
Porn
called
Rock.
Porn Rock.
The representatives from the PMRC, 3 musicians, Dee Snider, Frank Zappa, and John Denver, and Senators Paula Hawkins, Al Gore, and others testified before the Senate. And the subject of content of certain sound recordings and suggestions. I can't read my own writing. It's actually typed.
Interesting, since it was typed, yeah.
Yeah. I can't read it all.
I just can't read my own
and
typing.
Suggestions that recording packages be labeled to provide a warning label for purchasers of sexually explicit or other potentially offensive content. Basically, these men, especially Dee Snider, made these women look like morons. You can actually find videos on YouTube of the hearing and what each musician had to say. You'll definitely be entertained. Dee Snider provides an entire, very well thought out, intelligent reasoning why.
I disagree with Dee Snider on a lot of his political views, but I would never argue with him. Because he's
a scary
insanely
man.
intelligent man.
Right.
I used to listen to his radio show. He had a radio show all about horror called Fangoria Radio on Sirius, and he knew stuff. He was a smart dude.
With his song that is chosen for one of this 15, I'm just thinking maybe Tipper should check out his movie that he was in, and maybe
Yeah, and if she thought, in other words, if she thought that was bad,
she should see the movie.
Was it called Strangeland?
Yeah, Strangeland was really bad. So go check that out as well. In the end, the sticker did happen, but it had an amazing boost in publicity and sales for the musicians. Basically, John Denver was the last to talk about all of this, and he was completely, and what he said, and I didn't write that down, actually, you should probably go read about it, made so much sense that even, like, Tipper was scratching her own head, but in the end, they won, and really who won, because their sales and... It was
I think. Let me just say, for the record, putting a label on the album, putting a parental advisory. Believe me, when you're 13, 14 years old, that just makes it all the more attractive. So they kind of, I think they kind of did a good thing for rock music in that sense that when people see that, that's the version that they want, and they've also ended up creating a sort of. Like an extra stream of income because these albums all have two versions, and some people want to have two versions. So they just gave themselves more opportunities to be heard.
Walmart was one of the ones that is all about the sticker. Obviously,
and sometimes, and I've heard that too. There's certain like Walmart or Target, or sometimes at different times won't carry this one or that. That is becoming way less of a thing in the digital age.
Yeah.
So. I think it's just also, for parents that are concerned, that about that, then, okay, that is there. I didn't see it. In other words, if we have films rated G, PG, PG, 13R, et cetera, NC-17, et cetera, putting a label on a record, I don't really see as a big deal, personally. I was like, what I think Zappa and those guys were really afraid of was that this is like a gateway to being for people to be able to tell us what we can say and what we can say about, and that is a legitimate thing, and that's one of the things that is one of the founding principles of the country I'm from, which is the United States, is hey. I don't, Voltaire said, I may disagree. I'm going to paraphrase it. Even though I disagree with you, I will defend to the death your right to say what you have to say. And so if you've got to write a song about a girl in a hotel lobby, jerking off with a magazine, then that's what you got to say. Right, Lily?
Exactly.
So
what's cool is my parents never, ever, ever cared about that sticker. They let me listen to whatever I wanted to listen to, and they're not wiser.
Now that we have given the sort of backstory, the preamble, let's get into the list. Where are we going to start?
The song that started the whole problem, because Tipper Gore listened to it while her daughter was listening to it, is "Darling Nikki" by Prince on the album Purple Rain, and the offense is sex and masturbation. It was actually written from the point of view of a boy who was trying to humiliate his girlfriend, who starts working for a rival, and it was the reference to a girl masturbating that was the cause of the outrage. The album went 13 times certified platinum and has sold over 25 million copies worldwide. The lyric in question is, I knew a girl named Nikki, I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby masturbating with a magazine. I don't know. I don't think that's that bad. But I didn't also know what that was when I was a kid.
Well, that's because you're a pervert.
I am not a pervert. I think that's a great song.
You think it's a great song?
I think it's a great song.
I don't know, though.
I like every song on this list, though.
I think it's...
Of course I do.
Just filth.
Lies.
Filth.
There's only one song on this entire list that I might be like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're going to talk about. But, so I'm going to just... So, that it wasn't even a hit song.
No. It wasn't even one of the big ones on the album.
Although
Obviously,
it's a cool
Purple
song.
Rain, yeah.
I mean, Purple Rain's one of those all killer, no filler albums, for sure. But
it was one of the background songs that nobody even noticed.
It was a kind of, what do you call a B cut or B side or whatever.
Yeah.
And they brought all kind of attention to it, as that's what happens. Okay, so this is like very often, the war on drugs created more drugs. The war on terror created more terror. So the fastest way to get something to grow or become bigger is to start a war on it. So you're going to start a war on rock and roll. This is what's going to happen. And this was I believe this movement was also an outgrowth of something that was going on in the 80s with televangelism being, you're probably a little too young to remember, but this was really, really huge. The big TV evangelists were all over the airwaves, and they had become kind of like if there was the internet back then, they would have been memes.
Okay.
They would have
well,
been like,
I remember hearing about them, but I never actually saw any of them.
you know what I mean? Jimmy Swaggart, Jim Baker, Pat Robertson, Oral Roberts, those people, they
Like,
would
I know
have
the
had
names.
their faces up, with funny sayings under them all over the internet. Had that been a thing, they were the topics of skits on Saturday Night Live, on Leno and not Leno, excuse me, David Letterman and Johnny Carson would lampoon them and stuff like that. Billy Graham actually had appeared on Johnny Carson several times, so it was a pop culture thing, and it was very, had a hairy eyeball when it came to drinking, sex, drugs, even smoking cigarettes, and I think that these women were probably identified with that world.
Right.
They were, claimed to be Christians or whatever. And this was all done in the name of protecting the children. And this should be a lesson to everybody. When somebody says we need to protect the children, be aware. Be aware.
But at the same time, it's the 80s, and that is the time when music was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, party time, let's
and if
do
you
this.
notice, and if you want to say that maybe, no, rock survived, we just did this parental advisory, blah, 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 blah. But look what happened in the 90s. All the real rock and rollers, all the people singing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, partying and everything, that all became passé.
On the back burner.
All of a sudden, rock became sensitive.
sad.
And people were talking about the sad and their feelings
Sad
and
clowns.
alienation and everything. Yeah. So maybe...
It put a little damper on it there.
Maybe it did. Maybe it was part of it. So, so what's next on the list? Darling Nikki, number 1.
Number 2 is Sugar Walls by Sheena Easton on the album Private Heaven. The offense is sex. The song was credited to Alexander Nevermind, who is
Prince. So Prince is
again.
twice in a row.
The single,
that filthy bastard.
right? The single had everything to get ladies from the PMRC all riled up. Easton defended herself by saying, "We're not embarrassed to be sexy when we want to be. Art is about being free." The lyric in question is blood racing to private spots and spending the night inside my sugar walls, which is obviously referring to her lady parts. So I guess it might be questionable, but I never caught on to it.
My lovely lady lumps. My lumps.
So yeah, another Prince offense.
Prince
on
offense.
the list.
The offensive Prince. I think that that wasn't a that was a hit. It wasn't.
It was
Sheena
popular, but it
Easton's
was like
biggest hit.
No, oh my gosh.
Strut Pout Put It Out.
Yeah.
Was
Again.
yeah, and then what was the other one? The one that she sang with Prince. You've Got the Look.
Yeah.
Which is actually a Prince. That's on. That's not a Prince album. The title of which escapes me. I have it. I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, so she was the woman. She was a singer who, when she first came out in the early '80s, was a very kind of sweet singer. She sang that.
She's a drummer too.
My baby takes the
Yeah,
morning train.
right.
He works from 9
She
to
met Prince
5.
and got sexual. What the hell?
Yeah, Prince, man. He was a lady man.
He really was.
Short, but
Man
talented
man
and good
could
looking.
wail on
and
that guitar.
He played great guitar, amazing, So anyway, please say the next one is not by Prince.
It's not.
Okay.
It's actually Eat Me Alive by Judas Priest on the album Defenders of the Faith. The offense is sex and violence. Two things that go together well, right? Gore claims this song is advocated oral sex at gunpoint. KK Downing said,
Well, sometimes, guys, right?
you got to do what you got to do.
I mean, who here hasn't been making out with a chick and they start pushing their shoulders down a little? I never did that. I'm just saying.
That happens all the time. KK Downing said, "We are a metal band. We didn't sing about daffodils and roses." After he came to his senses, thinking maybe they went too far, they followed the hearing up in 1986 with a song called Parental Guidance. The lyric in question is Rod of Steel and Grown in the Pleasure Zone. Catchy to me. Catchy. Just grown in the pleasure zone.
Grown in the pleasure zone.
I like that they had a comeback the next year for Tipper and her little mommy crew. So there you go. Judas Priest. Stop.
The Judas Priest has also and I don't. Was this after they were involved in controversy
I think
regarding
that was before.
the guys that tried to commit suicide?
Yeah.
The one boy succeeded. The other boy lived for several years and then eventually succumbed to his wounds. And they try to blame Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne.
Judas Priest has always been behind controversy, though, even with when Rob Halford came out of the closet and the whole thing. And I think that's just their thing. Let's just keep ourselves in the media.
When I hear their songs, I just hear great rock and roll.
Yeah.
I never,
Wow,
because
there it is.
if this was really the kind of bad influence that that people were imagining that it was going to, this is proof to you that most of your problems out there in the world are in your mind. Because if this would have been like a serious problem, we'd had all kind of kids like, there's another woman forced to have oral sex at gunpoint. Oh, this Judas Priest song is taking over the world.
Yeah,
it would have been a whole thing. There would have been a whole thing. There was no whole thing. This was in somebody's imagination. So if only thing I can say about this, guys, if there's something you don't like,
don't listen.
Change the channel. Go to a different website.
There is Christian rock out there.
And there is Christian rock. Yes, so you have a lot of options. But hey, the Priest is the Priest.
Also, the Prince album is that you were talking about is Sign of the Times.
Sign of the Times, which is a great record. Let's get two more in before we play the next song.
All right, sweet. So number 4 is probably Prince influenced. Strap on Robbie Baby by Vanity. Album Wild Animal. Offense is sex. The lyrics were written by her then boyfriend Robbie Bruce, and a few years later she posed for Playboy saying she was just putting it all out there. So Ms. Gore had a field day with this one. It got it has a very 80s pop sound, and the video is super 80s. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's fun. The video's fun, the song's fun. The 80s were all about sex, like I said before, so it was the time. But the lyric in question is, if you want to glide down my hallway, it's open, strap yourself in and ride. I might use that line on a guy. I don't know.
On a guy.
A gentleman. A gentleman. I'm going to use that probably this weekend.
That's, this is really making me long for the days when people just, rock was about relationships.
And love.
Because that's true love.
That is true.
Slide down my hallway, you're kidding? I mean, I can't think of anything a woman could say to me other than that would just make my heart melt.
Does your heart melt?
What's after Strap On Robbie Baby?
Some of the kings of the 80s. Bastard by Motley Crue. Album Shout at the Devil. Offenses, violence, and language. Obviously, they were going to end up on the naughty list somewhere. They're known for the sex and drugs and rock and roll in the 80s. This includes violent lyrics about stabbing someone to death. But when the sticker was placed on the cover, that only attracted more buyers to this album. Shout at the Devil. It's one of the highest selling albums of the time. The kids wanted it even more, and this band was climbing the charts already at the time. That just gave more of a boost. The lyric in question is, out goes the lights, in goes my knife, pull out his life, consider the bastard dead. That's a little violent.
But do you know the song Jailbreak?
Yep.
By AC/DC?
I know that song.
I mean, that's a like an even grittier song. It's kind of about the same thing. Do you ever know that there's a song by Johnny Cash, maybe you heard of it, where he says, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die?
Yeah. But it's Johnny Cash,
hello.
so they don't care.
Can you say double standard? There's always a double standard, guys. Be aware of that when you're traveling through the world. Let's play. I want to play this other. We have Suwaka coming up in a minute here. But last week we had a really interesting thing happen. We had this band that wanted to be on the show, and they were in England, and we got the time. They got the times mixed up.
Easily done.
But Jim did join us for the after show, and it was really fun. So I wanted to play them. Now this is a band called Mrs. Beckett. That's the name of the band, Mrs. Beckett. The song's called Rome. We're going to come right back with some more Filthy 15 on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
So just let me explain why I'm here and saying sorry again. And you're feeling the strain. You've got every right to complain. And here I can be depressive, passive and aggressive, with everything that gets in my way. And no, it's not impressive, self-indulgent and possessive, but baby, keep the faith, you know Rome was a building today.
Rome on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. These guys just released this record. It's actually, I broke my rule, and they because I only play you if you're on Spotify. But Jim was so cool, and it was so great to have him hang out with us.
He was super fun.
This has just not made it quite to Spotify yet, but you can get it on Bandcamp. You want to go to Mrs. Beckett. Two T's, mrsbeckett.bandcamp.com, and you can get it there. And I want to thank you, Jim, as well for the free download code that you sent me. The record's great, and I'm really loving it. Shout out to Bill Damiano, Beth Pertinel, and Dave Duche. What's happening, Dave?
What's happening? Over on Rock Rage Live, we've got Corey Dale, Chris, Thunderwolf Dotson and Raven, and John Rodriguez, and Chadwick Clay Pryor.
Wow, that's like a whole mouthful of language.
That's a name.
What's his name again? Chadwick.
Chadwick Clay Pryor.
Boy, that sounds like a pretty
quite the name.
Yeah, like you, dude. You should be like out with, Biff, out of the club, teeing off, in your. I mean, that's,
Chadwick.
Yeah. My name is Chadwick. Yeah. So, anyways, the Filthy 15. A couple things. Shout out to Wolf's Customs, Chris Thunderwolf Thoughts, and I'm so glad you're watching, buddy. Wolf'sCustoms.online. Just quit screwing around and get a custom paint job on your guitar. Or your ukulele or your swinette or whatever it is that you like to play.
Your triangle.
Yeah, your triangle. Get it? Yeah. He's running a special on triangles this week, so hit him up at wolfscustoms.online. And shout out to Rock Rage Redidio. What I have not mentioned is how you can hang out with us, and that is at LouLombardiRocks.com. It's all kind of, you get access to all kind of free goodies and fun stuff and opportunities. There's a guitar in the corner over here, brandy new. And maybe I'll whip it out at the end here. That is going to be given away to a lucky fan very soon. So we have a contest coming up for you to win a guitar. So we got a lot of good stuff in the works for you guys. So check it out at LouLombardiRocks.com. Now back to the Filthy 15.
Number 6
on
the list is Let Me Put My Love Into You by AC/DC. Sounds like a love song.
They had to be on the list.
Back in Black. You're wearing AC/DC. Offensive Sex. By the time the song made the list, it was already 5 years old. Came out in 1980, so the PMRC was reaching for this one. The band claimed the attempt to censor them was satanic intolerance. And if you listen to 90% of AC/DC songs, maybe even 95%, they are all about sex. Let's be real. AC/DC talks about sex all the time. The band oozes sex and wanted to talk about it.
They like the screw.
I mean, it's a band. The lyric in question is, let me cut your cake with my knife. OMG.
Maybe it's her birthday.
Maybe.
Did you ever think of that? Tipper, you have a very dirty mind.
Which is funny because Dee said it's all coming out of her own mind, what she's coming up with. So speaking of
see, this is the thing. This is like many people who cry sexism or sexist or whatever like that. That's because that's what their head is. And I'm just gonna say it. A lot of people cry race. That's because that's what they're seeing in their own fucking heads. So watch what's in your head. Are you going to be outed as some pervert?
I mean,
maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe rockers have always loved to. Lyricists, rock lyrics have always loved to play around with sexuality. That's been since the beginning
of time,
and it's because it is something that is relatable to every single person. We all have that in common. We all have sex in common. We all like to have sex. Okay, I understand. I know there's some monks and there's a handful of people out there that maybe you don't. I'm talking about. This is broadcasting. Okay,
I kind of feel like monks
so we're speaking
listening.
Broadly. Okay. No, we're not talking to broads. We might be talking to a few broads, but I think my audience is overwhelmingly male. In any case, so it's just a thing we all do, and I understand you got kids. That's what. Just I'm going to say something, and you have to tune into the after show to hear this. But I went to tech school for a little while and there was a lot of like older guys, like steel mill guys, were being like re-educated. It was Reagan had done this re-education thing, and some of these guys they were fathers, and they had some very interesting words of wisdom regarding this type of stuff.
Nice.
But I'm not going to say it on the regular podcast because we getting into R-rated territory. So what do we got after AC/DC?
Well, speaking of Dee Snider, we have now We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister from the album Stay Hungry, and the offense is violence. Dee Snider himself was at the hearing and defended the song from allegations that it promoted violence. Snider said, "It strikes me that the PMRC may have confused our video presentation for this song with the meaning of the lyrics. It was simply meant to be a cartoon with human actors playing variations on the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote theme. Each stunt was selected from my personal collection of cartoons." So he's going, and cartoons are violent, you know. Well, they were. Now, if Gord would have seen the movie Strangeland, like I said earlier, she may have fainted. The song reached number 2 on the Billboard. There is no lyric that suggests violence that I could see in the entire song. I went through all the lyrics.
Maybe we're right. We'll fight. You'll see. You know what
But
I mean?
I just feel like they're fighting for their right to party.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's a song is about. The song is. If those of you that have never seen the movie School of Rock, you need to watch it because Jack Black puts rock into. I mean, he just summarizes it so perfectly. He says, rock is about sticking it to the man. And that's what the song is about. This is about, like, the man.
Yeah. It's not... I couldn't find a lyric to relate to, so... And I went through all the songs. Okay.
And the best way to stick it to the man is kind of like, be smarter than him. Whatever. And that's really...
In this case, the man's a woman.
Dee Snider. It's like... I'm telling you, man, I would not argue with that dude.
No, he's very...
I'd be like, okay.
He's got a lot to say anyway.
He's a smart dude. Very smart dude. Like I said, so what do we got? So who's after Twisted Sister?
Next on the list is Dress You Up by Madonna on the album Like a Virgin. The offense is sex. It was the 80s, and of course this list would have to include the ever-sexual icon Madonna. The song happened to be composed by Andrea LaRusso and Peggy Stanzial, who were described as 2 Jersey housewives.
Gonna dress you up in my life, all over you. That's the song they're talking about.
Yep.
Why?
I don't know. I'll read the lyrics.
I remember just being like a silly pop song. Like,
it is a silly pop song, but I'll
Don't get me wrong. I was a horny teenager, and maybe I had a couple of impure thoughts about Madonna, but this was not like a trigger song.
Was this before she did the music awards where she was dressed up in the dress doing the thing on the stage? I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
Madonna herself said, "I'm sexy. How can I avoid it?" When the song came out, my little sister, my own, was 3, and she was dancing around to all the Madonna songs. She didn't know the meaning behind them. She was just having fun dancing to a pop song. She didn't really care. Methinks Tipper probably just didn't get laid that often and was a little jelly of Madonna. So, the lyric in question is, "Gonna dress you up in my love all over your body." She's going to be on top of the guy. Oh my gosh, calm down. Because Tipper probably never did that. So, be my guess.
We are. Look, this isn't a political podcast. Rock and roll is all about freedom and being able to say what you want to say, and that's all. That's all I'm saying about it. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just saying that it's all about saying what you got to say, man. And if you can't do that, if you can't strap on a guitar, sit down at a keyboard or your computer even, and make music and say what you want to say, like, come on, man. Like, what's the freaking point? That's what it's all about. And so, I mean, and rockers have always done this. We've always, kind of pointed the finger at society, kind of try to sneak around, throw little innuendos out there to just, see if we can sneak it past the adults. That's the fun of it. It's the fun of it. Relax.
It's freedom.
Smile, have a drink. You'll live longer. What's after Madonna?
After Madonna happens to be Animal, Beep Like a Beast by Wasp. From the album Wasp. Offense is sex, language, and violence. It was claimed that Blackie Lawless wrote this song after seeing a photograph of lions mating in a National Geographic magazine. Of course, the title alone gets them on the list for the PMRC. The band used to introduce the songs at the live shows. Well, this one is for Tipper Gore. So that's what they used to do at the beginning of the song. Unfortunately, after he became a born-again Christian, he stopped performing this song, and the lyric in question is it's the whole song from the beginning to end, but most prominently the title. F like a beast.
F like a beast. F.
F bleep 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 like a beast. I mean, their whole show, though, was pretty crazy. They'd have females on the stage chained up, throwing meat. He had a codpiece that had a saw on it. I mean, he was pretty out there, but I love Blackie, so I don't really care.
And he's a born-again Christian now.
Yes. And he sings
so
love
maybe
songs.
In this case, Tipper Gore won.
I really don't think it was Tipper Gore that swayed him.
Wasp. I could see the temptation to want to put them, to bring this up. I mean, some of the songs, like I could understand, like maybe if I was I don't know. I'm just trying to see it from other people's perspectives. So just go with this for a second. Like, you're an 80s parent, right? Maybe you're a little conservative. You spent, you're the church, very middle class, kind of like middle of the road type of situation. Your kid comes home with a record, F Like a Beast. You know what I mean? Like, I could see where there'd be, maybe, or
This
at least
isn't
some
even the one I
knee-jerking. Even some knee-jerking, you mean Mean Man? Is that the one you're thinking of? Oh, that's another one that they did. But
No, I mean on the list.
So I can understand if they, they would see that. The F word at that time was still pretty taboo. Like,
at that time.
I mean, hear it on TV. You hear it in Star Trek. Okay, so like now it's like nothing. So it's very easy for, like I said, to kind of look back with kind of jaded eyes and go, like, oh, well, you guys are so crazy. But it was a thing. It was a thing. So this is taking us back to 1985. So what's? Let me see where we are. We said we're going to do one more, and then we're going to take a break.
Okay. Number 10 is High and Dry by Def Leppard. On the album High and Dry, the offense is drug and alcohol abuse. We can really all relate to this song, I think. It's a Saturday night, partying, sex, drugs. It's what rock and roll is about. And that's clearly conveyed in this song, but Def Leppard got a little slap on the wrist for the meaning behind the whole thing. They came back saying that they had no interest in people with closed minds. That was to Tipper. The lyric is, I got my whiskey, I got my wine, I got my woman, and this time the lights are going out. So, I mean, that's my weekends before the lockdown. That was my weekends, except for the woman part. I'm with men. Sorry.
You're listening to Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Go to LouLombardiRocks.com for some interesting post-podcast interactions. This is a band that I actually got to work with last year called Suwaka. Dark Bright on the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus.
One road, one sound, the sky above, every round, one touch, one light, the fading sun, captivate, one truth, two sides, we can live, we can lie, always, one time, we'll do, we'll
Suwaka, everybody. Great band. Had the honor of really playing with these guys last year. SuwakaTribe.bandcamp.com. Check those guys out. Good hard rock and metal as well. This whole situation, guys, went down in 1985. So I thought that maybe we would just before we finish up the last 5 here, we might talk quickly about things that goings on in 1985. Popular films at that time: Back to the Future, First Blood Part 2, Rambo, better known as Rambo, and Rocky 4. The Color Purple, Out of Africa, so 2 Africa-based sort of ideas there. Cocoon, Police Academy 2, wow, yeah. Remember those terrible things? A View to a Kill, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, starring Tina Turner.
Yeah, I remember. That's a good movie.
Popular bands, artists at the time were Duran Duran, Simple Minds, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, Dire Straits, The Cure, David Bowie, Phil Collins, and Simple Minds again. Somehow, Simple Minds was really popular. Yeah, they were on the list twice. The Food and Drug Administration approves a blood test for AIDS. Compact discs are introduced to American consumers in 1985. Wow. Also a first, and I did not realize this, the first .com domain name, Symbolics.com, is registered by the Symbolics Corporation. 1985. The internet was just like it
was a baby.
It was just like a thing on college campuses and like in industry
Science.
and stuff like that. Yeah, it wasn't a. Let's see here. Mafia boss Paul Castellano is shot on orders from John Gotti. There's a very famous photo of him, of that, of his body on the sidewalk. It's pretty disturbing stuff. Let's see here. Boeing 747 Flight 123 crashes into Mount Osutaka in Japan. Insurance companies begin screening for AIDS for life insurance. Yeah, that was
That made
big
people
controversy. The Unabomber kills his first victim. Woo, go Unabomber. I'm sorry if you or somebody in your family was a victim of the Unabomber. I humbly apologize. President Reagan announced a strategic defense, SDI. Let's see, anything.
They found the Titanic.
Yeah. 500 hippie travelers clashed with police on June the 1st on their way to an ancient stone circle of Stonehenge. Oh, Terry Anderson kidnapping. But anyways, if you guys want to have some fun with the past, go to thepeoplehistory.com and you can just put in any year and they have all kind of funky facts about things.
New Coke.
Yeah, New Coke debuted in 1985.
Nobody liked it.
The Live Aid concerts were held in July of that year. The cost of living in 1985. Let's see here. Let me see. How much was let me see. Is there milk on the list or something like that? A gallon of gas was $1.88.
That seems high.
Yep.
I don't see milk on there.
Bacon per pound was $1.65. Average house price was $40,000. Oh, wow. Anyways, guys, so yeah, check it out. So figure since we were talking about 1985, I would put this in time and space. Let's wrap up these last 5 here.
All right, number 11, Into the Coven, Merciful Fate, album Melissa, Offense, Occult. The PMRC went a different route other than sex and drugs on this one. This one claimed to have an unhealthy interest in the occult. First of all, what the hell does Tipper Gore know about the occult? Okay, whatever. But it was a musical horror story, the album. King Diamond said later, the whole thing is just pathetic. We thought they must be really bored to have time for this. How they saw those songs and said more about them than it did about us. Lyric is, come into my coven and become Lucifer's child. Okay, I get it with the lyric maybe, but it really was a rock musical.
Excuse me, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I just want to ask something. At this point, I believe The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, Burnt Offerings, Exorcist, all these movies had been out for a long time.
Yup.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay.
What do you got next?
Next is Trashed by Black Sabbath, album Born Again, Offense, Drugs, and Alcohol Abuse. The song is actually about how Ian Gillan crashed drummer Bill Ward's car during an alcohol-fueled race around the grounds of the recording studio. The real purpose of the song was to be a warning against driving under the influence. The band said that the video was intentionally lewd, so it would go with the song. The lyric is, I drank a bottle of tequila and I feel real good. I had the tape deck roaring, but on the 25th lap at the canal turn, I went off exploring. I knew I wouldn't make it. The car just wouldn't make it. I was turning tires, burning. The ground was in my sky. Drunk English rockers. That's what they do.
It was like, Ozzy's Suicide Solution. The song is a sort of like saying suicide is not the solution.
It's a warning. That's all it was.
This has been gotten wrong so many times by people. What's next?
Number 13, In My House, Mary Jane Girls album, Only for You, Offensive Sex. This is not that big of a hit.
In My House.
Yeah. It was written and arranged by Rick James himself. The singer, JoJo McDuffie, said the song was making innuendo. I can't even say this word. Innuendo tastefully with the so-called explicit lyrics. They wanted it to actually be on the radio, so that's why they didn't make it like completely
in my blouse.
It's funky, it's catchy. The video isn't even that bad. There's some dancing ladies fully clothed, laying in a bed, a couple bubble bath scenes. Nothing's shown. It's not that bad. But the lyric is, I'll satisfy your every need and every fantasy you think up.
Penned by Rick
James.
Rick. Cocaine's a hell of a drug, James. Again, like I said, hindsight, we can look back and laugh. But
it was cheesy.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of these songs. I think they're like, you really got to be. I think that T. Steiner was right to sort of like question, like, what are these? It's like they're like bored housewives, like nothing to do, so they sit around and have like sex fantasies.
Al gave his wife a job.
Yeah.
Here, honey, here's a project.
Or that. But I was thinking more along the lines that, like, they just have nothing to do and they have perverted fantasies.
Right. I mean, that could be it, too.
So what do you got?
Number 14. Now, this is the one that I think might sort of be questionable. I still love the song. It's Possessed by Venom, off the album Possessed, Offense Occult, again. Another occult one that they chose to take to the hearing, released on April Fool's Day, 1985. The lyrics are definitely kind of on the grotesque side. This wasn't the worst of the songs that Kronos, the frontman of Venom, has written. The album was written in Sussex at a quaint little village, but I find it hysterical that this is on the same list as Prince and Madonna. It is the darkest on the list by far. The lyric is, I drink the vomit of the priests, make love with the dying whore. So it's a little,
Well, I guess if you got your, like, 12-year-old
that
walking
might be
around
a little,
singing that, I mean, I guess
that might be questionable.
Then they might be concerned about that. I mean, again, putting it in context, these are people that are, probably sheltered in their life, and they hear stuff like this, and they probably go, oh
my God.
But I don't really think anybody was concerned about it. I think this is a made-up controversy, just sort of made up to maybe just give these ladies something to do. That's terrible. I'm sorry, it's sexist. Go ahead. What do you got?
And number 15, She Bop by Cyndi Lauper, off of album She's So Unusual, Offenses, Sex, and Masturbation. Cyndi Lauper, she landed herself on the list because of her innuendo-filled lyrics. The song was a catchy pop tune about doing yourself. Alert the media, people masturbate. Sex sells in any industry, especially music, so get over yourself. The video was the worst thing about the song. It was slightly dirty. If you watch it, she's in a car, clearly doing some things. Cyndi said with a smile that she brought shame to her family with this scandalous song. And the lyric is, I want to go south and get me some more. They say I better stop or I'll just go blind. And they used to tell you when you were a kid, if you keep touching yourself, you're going to go blind. So she just wrote about it.
Well, can I do it? My question was, can I do it just until I need glasses?
Yes.
That's why I have glasses.
You're allowed.
That's why I wear glasses. So, yeah.
So I just really think, like you said, that they were bored and had nothing better to do. And it's just like, well, you just helped music sales anyway, so thanks.
Yeah, guys, like, maybe it would be best if you just, like, went and got a life.
It's probably why it's not a thing anymore. They disbanded in the 1990s.
Is there any, I was going to ask you, Lil, is there any, what's the word? What's the question I want to ask you? Are there, like, if you had children, is there anything, any media or other than out and out porn? Okay, like let's
okay, we're just gonna eliminate porn.
Yeah, just like that's not. Come on, I mean that's like duh. Is there any like out and out? Is there any like media or television thing or radio thing or whatever that you would say, no, you can't, I have to restrict that?
Quite honestly, if I had children, I would probably just let them listen to and watch what they wanted. If they had questions, I would certainly explain it. That's what my parents did with me, and that's what I would do with them. So,
I could understand that you may not want, let's just put this. Let me say it this way. You might not want them to see some extreme violent thing. You know what I mean? I think it would be kind of if they were really little and they saw something really terrible.
Well, I mean, there are age limits.
You know what
obviously.
I mean? Where you might want. No, I can understand where they're not ready for the deca jack with their heads.
Right. Well, here.
But other than that,
rape scenes. That's a thing I have a thing with. So I probably would be like, why don't you cover your eyes for this part? Things like that. But again, there are age limits. Maybe, okay, you're 14. You probably should know this stuff anyway. You go to high school, so, Yeah,
and again, we live in a different era.
Yeah.
And we have the internet now where, honestly, every kid, I'm sorry. Yes, your daughter knows what a blowjob is. Sorry. She does.
Probably.
It's just this is the era we live in, And we knew a lot more than our parents knew when we were everybody says that, right? You know what I mean? Kids today, they're so precocious. They know everything. And it's just how it is, man. So try.
I would
to
never
relax.
put restrictions on music, though, ever. I'd be like,
you wouldn't put restrictions
never.
on it? Okay.
I would never do
I
that.
can't see myself doing that either.
I'd be listen to what you want.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that either. I think that it's an important for folks that are younger that don't maybe just first encountering different ideas like sex or like violence or whatever, to have, if you have a good relationship where you can talk, you could maybe start a conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To kind of talk about deeper issues or whatever. I don't know. I don't have children. Lily does not have children. So essentially that last couple minutes was just us talking out our ass.
Right. We know nothing.
So we know nothing. So, if you're a parent, you need to lay down to, knock them upside the head because they're listening to some Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, you're not allowed to do that now.
That's your business. I know. So our lips are sealed. You've been listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. You want to go to LouLombardiRocks.com for all kind of more Ludini goodness. And you could ask, if you want to know what Ludini goodness is, then you need to talk to Beth Pertnell or Bill Damiano or Billy Altman. These are all folks that are part of our community. Good dudes. Chris Thunderwolf Dotson. Again, shout out to Wolf Customs Online. Him and Raven are part of our community. It's a great group of folks. Man, I heard a band today. It was so good, and I cannot wait to I hit them up. I'm going to try to get them on the podcast. And it's because Mark Christian Jones posted them in the Inner Circle. I'd never heard them before. They're freaking great. I can't wait to play them for you guys. So hopefully that'll be coming up soon. So that's the kind of stuff you get. Keith did not join us tonight, and we're hoping that everything is okay. Don't want to worry the audience out there, but it's unusual for him not to be here. So Keith, brother, we missed you. We hope to talk to you soon. And Rock Rage Radio, we really do appreciate you guys carrying the program, and I promise that I will get it this week to you on time. Lily, what do you have to say?
Thursdays, listen to my show, Hot Licks with Lily 6 on rockrageradio.com, or download the free app. I have a bunch of interviews coming up, and also I am going to go ahead and announce this a little prematurely, but there's going to be a show for my 200th episode of my show in November. Lou's actually playing one of the nights, and Suwaka, who he had on the show tonight. So there's going to be so many bands, vendors, food, all the things. So that is in November. Check on my Facebook page for the actual dates, because I can't think of them right now.
Hey, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Yard of Blondes opened the show, yardofblondes.com. We listened to Mrs. Beckett. You want to go to mrsbeckett.bandcamp.com. And then, of course, as Lily was saying, suwakatribe.bandcamp.com. It was great hanging out with you guys. We'll catch you guys all on the next Ludini Rock and Roll Circus. Okay, Inner Circle and YouTube and everybody, good night. Rock Rage Live. Love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Lily needs to go smoke a cigarette. She